Hello everyone, this is lunch and I wanted to share with you something fun I got to do over the weekend at Gencon. So I ended up winning one of the main events. They were like 64-person fights, and the prize for that was the ability to play in a special draft. And as you can see, they gave us a bunch of extra stuff too, so I got all of those full art foil fields, as well as having them replace all of the leaders with showcases. So this was a really cool experience that I got to have, and I figured I would share it with everyone. Also, I've had a lot of people request some tutorial stuff for tutorials for draft in general, so I figured I could get a nice double whammy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this cool draft, and then I'm going to kind of talk through my choices as well. The other thing that I wanted to do with this is I recorded all of the first round, second round, and finals of the actual matches as well. So those will be coming out in the following days. They won't be as commentated as this is. It'll mostly just be me showing you the match, which is pretty cool. But I wanted to go through this. And yeah, so the way it worked at Gen Con, if I didn't say it before, is that 64-person sealed, there was 6 of those, and there was a two larger draft events as well. And if you won those, you got to play in this. And as you can see, I grabbed a VAR for the first showcase. And now, that was a little bit of a rare draft on my part. The only thing we win for doing this is a trophy, which was a really cool trophy. Because under normal circumstances, I definitely would have grabbed one of the Snokes. But unfortunately, a VAR is worth about twice as much as Snoke. For the most part, during the draft, I actually didn't rare draft that much. There was a couple that I did, and I'll make sure to mention those. But for the most part, I was drafting to win. So we grabbed Cal, we grabbed Second Sister, which, yeah, sorry for the wobbling. I had to kind of finagle my camera in between here. But yeah, so what they did for the draft is they had a bunch of showcases. They replaced the leaders that were in the packs with the showcases, and then they opened a case of Carbonite, and they swapped all the cards in the packs for fancier versions, essentially. So foils, hyperspaces, there's a bunch of the showcase cards as well. We'll see if I get any of those. But it made basically a really fun draft. You'll notice like all these hyperspaces and stuff are in here as well. Obviously not everything is swapped, but that's fine. The only time they ever replaced cards with more cards is if it was a rare base, or he said there was a couple where it was just like a really, really bad rare, and he's like, I want to put something else in that pack. So for the most part, these packs are as if we had drafted them normally, just with the fancy stuff added in. For this set, I do always recommend that the 3 leaders you want to go with are Snoke, Talzin, and Obi-Wan. Those 3 kind of outshine all the rest of them. There's a bunch you can play after that. It's not like it's impossible to win with other ones. But if I was not drafting showcases, I definitely would have grabbed one of those Snokes to start with. But as you see, I took the Vader to start with. Just a really good all-around card. It is a lot weaker in this than Constructed because it, because you don't have the ambush type stuff. So that's something to think of. We have a good chance to play blue now. That does mean we're locked into Dark Side, which means we're playing Second Sister. And Second Sister is a really good card. Or Second Sister is a decent tier 2 leader. She's not bad. You can definitely win with her. She's weaker than the other ones. She doesn't quite have the staying power. But the fact that she flips on 5 and then is hidden so you can't immediately kill her, especially in this where there is no, Rival's Fall, there's no effective way to kill her on her flip turn, so she assures a lot of damage. So if you're playing aggressive, then she's a good way to go. So as you can see, we're looking at our pack. I'm kind of figuring out what I want. 2 drops are very strong. Space is also very strong in this set, and that's what I end up taking, is a 3-1 Overwhelm Space unit. This set pack didn't have a ton of like really strong stuff, and I know I want to play Dark Side. Now you'll notice the big problem with that is I can't play the Vader and the ship. And there's a reasonable chance here now, I know, that I might not be playing the Vader I drafted first. But I still wouldn't consider that a value draft because it would have been good if blue becomes available. And it's okay for your first couple picks, especially in pack 1, to be of different colors, since you might be deciding to go different ways. In here we have a couple really strong picks. The Pong Pearl is a decent late game card. I probably would never take the Always 2. We also have some good yellow cards. Nil Marauder is a really solid card, as well as Will of the Force. Just because straight up removal is pretty rare in this pack. All you really have is the 7-drop for generic. I can't take light side because, like I said, I don't really want to play any of my light side stuff, and I'm kind of picking here. And as you see, I'm going to go with, I believe, the Nil Marauder. And the reason I'm going with this over Pong is because while Pong aligns with Fader and is nice, I have to play aggressive if I'm going to play Second Sister, so a 7-drop is just kind of too late. There's very few 7-drops I would even play when I'm playing her. We got a bunch of good stuff here. So if you look, we've got Sorcerer's Blast is decent, and it's in with our leader, which is good. We have that 2-drop that becomes a 2/4, the Sith Infiltrator, which is also very strong. We also have It's Worse, which is the one straight-up removal card that basically the set even has, which is also a really solid card. So I'm kind of trying to decide between those. Relic Scavenger isn't terrible either, but I just decided to go with the 2-drop. And you'll notice I am taking a bunch of different colors here. That's fine in the first pack in particular. Mostly because I'm trying to feel out what the people around me are going to pick as well. Because the best way to win in drafts like this is to pick colors other people aren't picking, even if they're slightly weaker. And now I'm eyeing up that Malik, and here I'm double checking because I wasn't 100% sure if she was Sith or not, which she is not. So Malik doesn't stand up, but that being said, a 4/7 on 5 is still extremely hard to deal with. And there isn't that much else in this pack, so I'm just going to take him. And it's cool, because I get a hyperspace Malik out of it as well. Notice here we got more Sorcerer's Blast. We got another 2-drop in space, which is really good. I'm not the biggest fan of that 2/2, so I'm just going to take the Sorcerer's Blast. The Attuned Warrior, something like that. The 2-drop that gets experience. He's okay if you have to run him, and he would have been in color. But he's really awkward to play because he kind of kills himself over time, which isn't something we want. We want to make our opponent remove all of our threats if they want to keep up. Next up we have, so Thralls of the Coven is a crazy good card in draft. And yeah, you see I just instantly picked that because it's in our red-black color, so Second Sister. A 6 attack with 7 health on 5 is crazy strong in this. And the weakness of it being a raid is a lot mitigated by this because we're just going to be going to base anyways. So we kind of just want the highest attack things that will be as sticky as possible. So yeah, that card is very, very strong and definitely something I would take. Now you see here, I really don't have any good options. On that Oppo, this is I believe, going to be one of the times when I actually do rare draft something just because I want the Oppo for another deck. We did have the draw to use the Force thing, but it's not really what we want to be doing anyways, so I'm not really going to bother with it. Here again, we don't really have any good choices. The Onslaught is fine. It can be an okay 30th card in your deck. And since we're being aggressive, maybe it can sneak out a win or something, but 4 damage a lot of times isn't good enough. So I do pick that because it's on color, but it might not end up in the final deck. And here's where I noticed we have a couple of Knights of Ren going around, and there's a lot of green stuff. So Knight of Ren is very, very strong just because it's overcosted. And I decided to take that, and I'm like, maybe our other color will be green instead now. Once again, there's literally nothing I could play in this pack. So I'm probably just going to take the Always 2 because it's a legendary. But, yeah. And I'm thinking here, I'm like, okay, so maybe I hate draft something like the Lothwolf. If you were playing 100% strictly for winning, because you're never going to play the Always 2. There just isn't enough Sith things in here. You would probably take the Lothwolf just so the person next to you didn't get a turn 1 Sentinel, which could be really problematic for my deck. Here, once again, we're just getting to the last couple cards. A lot of times these won't even be things that you play, and if you're drafting to win, here's where you want to start hate drafting stuff. Usually you never want to hate draft early in a pack, at least from my experience. Hate draft is for the last 3 or 4 cards when you're looking, you're like, alright, nothing in here I want to play. Let's take the strongest card that we can away from our opponents. And now we look and we see, alright, so we've got good red-green started. We've got a couple cards here we can't use. But for the most part, we drafted in color, which is good. Opal probably won't fit in because 5's a little bit too much. And this is what I encourage you to do. So when you're drafting at locals, a lot of time people don't care. You just kind of flip back and forth. But it looks like during quote-unquote competitive drafts, because they wanted to run this like a competitive draft since we're getting more of those events going forward, you're only allowed to look in between rounds. And you'll notice what I did, I just separated into playables, not playables, and then I put stuff in a curve. Because the biggest thing you want to make sure when you're doing one of these drafts is that you have enough turn 1 plays, right? Because even more so than constructed, you cannot get away with not playing a card turn 1. I can't think of very many times I've not had a turn 1 play, and I have won a game in draft just because you're fighting so much more for board presence. You don't have the removal that you do in constructed. It's just a really, really big deal that you play something on 1 and establish board presence. So you want to make sure you have enough 2 costs, enough 3 costs to get your early game going. It is much, much more important that you have an early game than an end game. You can win games by playing no card over a 4 cost pretty easily, just by double playing things, playing 2 units in 1 turn. It's just much more important to have an early game than a late game.
One face down pile in front of you. You'll be adding to that 1 pile for the for this pack. You may now open pack 2.
Here we are going into the second pack, and my first round draft was okay. We didn't get anything too crazy, but that's fine. It's not the end of the world. So you see there, Savage is a really, really good card in Constructed, but I also have that Acolyte as well. So there's 2 really good cards I could pick here, and I know I need 2 drops at this point too, so I'm really looking at that Acolyte. However, Savage, since I'm not using Force for much else, and there's really only 1 removal card that kills him in this too, which is the 7-cost one, he's actually way safer play. So I'm going to take the Savage. That does mean, however, keep in mind, I do need 2 drops still. And it is a little riskier to do that. So we got this. Ravening Gundark is a good pick. There's a Zuckuss there if I want to rare pick a legendary. However, if you look, there's like not a lot in this pack. I could take a Relic Scavenger. I could take the 1 drop. But overall, there just isn't that many things. The Gundark is a solid card. I think that's what I end up taking. The rough thing about taking the 1-drop ship is if you play against Talzin, it literally just instantly dies and doesn't do anything. You can resource it, so it's not the end of the world, but you have to keep that in mind is that Talzin exists in this format, so things with 1 health are going to have a really hard time getting played. And if you look, I honestly just end up picking the Zuckuss. Nothing in there is particularly good for me. Oh, and I get the Scythe in this pack, which is a really, really strong unit for me. The other thing in there I'm thinking about is the Curious Flock. Curious Flock is actually really strong just because of its flexibility in this set. You can basically play it as any... it plays as a curve on any turn, right? So you can play it as a 5-cost 5, 6-cost 6, even a 2-cost 2, and it's definitely solid. But Scythe is just crazy because it buffs Inquisitors, which our leader is. And you'll see here, this pack is absolutely absurd. There's like 4 or 5 cards. You can even hear me say it in the background. I have Scion's amazing. Having a 2nd Thrall would be amazing. Knight of Ren is amazing. Also, just the 3-cost 3/4 Jedi is a really good card as well. So there's literally 4 cards in this pack that are like almost first picks half the time. Maybe not so much the Jedi. And I'm sitting here thinking, do I want the Thralls? And I end up taking the 3-drop. Do I end up taking the 3-drop? I thought I took the... whatchamacallit here. And one thing to think about too is, so this is early enough where this pack is... I'm going to see this pack again. I'm going to see it at like 4 cards. So there's a decent chance a red card comes around to me because I'm noticing not a lot of people are picking red. So that means I should take a green card here and hope one of the red cards comes back around to me. And the reason I ended up taking that over the Knight is because... oh yeah, this is where we had an issue where one of the packs had too many cards in it. I'm pretty sure he put way too many cards in the pack when he like took things out and put them back in. So you're going to see us fumbling around with cards here a little bit. I do want to talk a little more about the Eye of Scion pick, though. The reason I took that over the 5-drop, even though the 5-drop is kind of a little inherently stronger, is because space is really, really valuable in this set. There is just not very many space units, especially big space units. So having an ambush to just immediately kill a space unit, restore 1, it has overwhelm, it's going to sit there, your opponent can't really do anything about it, is extremely strong. And I remembered that I really didn't have any space either. Like, I've got 1 or 2 small units. But since I didn't have any space, gaining some space has a lot of value to it too, even if it's a slightly less aggressive card than taking the Thrall.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to...
Remember that assembled
Okay, there we go. I'm just going to skip ahead to the next pack, because we sit there and we talk about it for a minute.
or at night, depending on
So
your
here we got Goose. Strike Ship is really good. Hyena is also solid. And I have an opportunity for a 2-drop as well. And 2-drop 2/4s are very strong in this. So basically I have a really big choice here. Do I want space or do I want ground? And for aggressive stuff in this set, you pretty much always want the space. If I was planning on playing a more defensive stuff, or if I had a way to move experience around, then the 2-drop would have been better, or the 2-drop green card would have been better. But Strike Ship is just a crazy turn 1 play, because if your opponent can't out it, you can really easily run away with the game. This pack doesn't have a whole lot. It's mostly just an option between the 6-drop and the 5-drop. And here I'm starting to get a little nervous, because I know I need 2-drops still. That being said, I don't think I would ever pick the 1-drop Witch. I think she's just too weak of a card. If that's your turn 1 play, you're never winning. I do want to put out a call for a Gundark here, because I think that card is very, very strong in draft. There's a lot of times where you'll just be trading like 1-to-1 to your opponent, and then your unit lives by a health. And Gundark can really easily swing games. It's got 5 attack on 5, which is solid, and that 1 damage can just kill things sometimes. It's a very, very good card. So here I'm taking a lightsaber. These lightsabers aren't crazy, but the +3 health on our sister could help her live next turn after she flips. And putting lightsabers on things is way stronger in sealed than it is in constructed, just because there's so much less removal. Here I'm going to take the Dengar spawn. It's not really that good. Sometimes it can run away and be crazy, but mostly I took it because there wasn't anything else in the pack. Once again, here I'm getting even more nervous because I'm not getting any 2-drops, which I very much need. And there isn't really anything in this pack. It's basically Rampage or the 6-drop. And Army of the Dead isn't terrible either. Like, taking an overstated vanilla card in this just to fill out a curve is perfectly fine.
What? Yeah, it's crazy. Who knows?
Give it a little bit of the background banter here while we're waiting for the next pack. Get them in the middle here. People were thinking more and more, and the pack started slowing down. But yeah, I'm very, very thankful. So the judge was talking to us a little bit about the actual event too, and about how he's trying to get this to happen at more, especially like conventions and things. And I think it's a really cool event. I like the idea of, you know, taking a bunch of smaller events and kind of combining them into a long one. I do think it would be better to do like, okay, let's take the top 2 from each one and maybe make 2 pods, or do it with, you know, 4 events instead of 8, because it is actually reasonably annoying to win one of these and then you also have to come back later. I know like one of the events got a little controversial because someone couldn't come back on Sunday for the event. So they basically drew their way into top 8 and just handed someone the win, which, I mean, it is what it is. And if you notice, this pack is awful for us.
How you all switched to my colors all of a sudden.
There we go. And here I am commenting about the fact that all of a sudden all the dark sign green and red cards started disappearing. So what ended up happening was my opponents realized the same thing I did, where we realized that those colors weren't being drafted in the first pack. And so we switched our strategies up to then draft something else. And this is something you should really try to do in your drafts. A really big part of the draft process itself, skill-wise, is realizing what other people are playing and how to play against, or what other people are drafting, and then drafting for the holes in their strategies. There you say I can take an It's Worse, which is a really good card for last 3. A lot of times in the last 3 cards, you'll kind of just get whatever. Like here I got a Hyperspace Wayfarer. It's kind of a whatever play. And especially if your opponent drafts some sort of bomb, like if they get Yoda or something, having an It's Worse is actually just really good. Also, in an aggro deck, since you're probably still not killing them until 6 or 7, having an It's Worse is nice for your last turn play to prevent them from killing something.
You noticed it, and I had 5 cards already. So 1, 2, 3. It was Crispy. Did you notice something? Crispy. Did you notice anything weird about your first pack? I think it had the extra cards.
Here we are still arguing about the extra cards thing. Doesn't really matter. If you're drafting and you ever find a pack is too big or something, someone drafted incorrectly, things like that. If it's under cards, it gets a little sketchy. If it's over cards, honestly, just keep passing it. It's not that big a deal. The last couple cards are always very minimal. And now you see we're in between packs, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before, where I'm going to separate out everything that I'm not going to play 100%, and then kind of just look at my curve. The biggest thing is you want to make sure you're making a curve that makes sense. I also separate out the units and the non-units because I want to be playing a unit every turn if possible. And I'm getting better. Let's see, I think I have 3 2-drops, which is okay. It's not the end of the world. I got a couple 3-drops as well. But nothing crazy, right? Like, my deck is still pretty fair. So let's see, yeah, 3, 2, 2, 2. So we have a very smooth curve, which is nice here. That means that we don't have to do anything too silly in the next draft. If you ever are drafting and you're like, I don't have any 4 or 5 drafts, then you might have to take some weird picks. The biggest thing I'm going to have to do here is make sure I get at least 3 to 4 turn 1 plays in this pack. And that isn't usually super hard to do. If you end up needing like 5 or 6 on the last pack, you might be kind of screwed. But just want to make sure to play safe. Make sure you're drafting a curve while you go, and that you're not leaving any big holes. So as long as I get some 2-drops here, we should be fine. Just taking a look. I'm double checking to make sure it's not Sith again, if I remember correctly. Because if you can get a Sith leader with that legendary, the Malik, that card is absolutely crazy. So I was like, darn, okay.
Okay, if everyone would open pack 3, we are going to count our cards. There were 3 extra cards in one pack.
Here we are going to the last pack. Unfortunately, our rare is the legendary that is completely unplayable, the giant ship. And we have a choice here that is kind of risky. So we have an easy 2-drop in the Gifted Urchin. However, we really don't want to... Oh, and we have the 2-drop droid too. So we really only have like good cards as 2-drops in this pack anyways.
Everyone's at 14?
I do have 2 lightsabers, so lightsaber row is a possibility. Nimbin Strike isn't bad either as a removal piece. But I need 2-drops, so I'm taking the droid. Even though it's like not an impressive card, it does take off experience against Obi-Wan, and it's a good statted 2-drop, which is what we need right now. So now I know I'm up to 4 2-drops, and I will say when you're drafting, if you're doing this version where you can't look at it, the only number you really need to like keep in your head is your 2-drops. Everything else you can kind of go off feel. Like if you asked me in the draft right now, how many 5-drops do you have? I probably wouldn't know offhand. I would know about. I'd probably say, well, I have probably between 2 and 4, but 2-drops you should really always know how many you have, because otherwise, yeah, it could get really rough if you end up with not enough. You notice here I don't get a 2-drop. I have a heavy missile platform, which isn't terrible. The Tarask, the 5-drop, is also really good. But you see I have this Jedi in hiding, and I remember that I kind of need 3 drops. And here's a circumstance where like all 3 of those cards are basically the same power level. You should just be drafting depending on which one your deck needs currently. Because, yeah, they're all even power. Like, do you want more space? Do you want the 3-drop that gives you force? Do you want the aggressive turn 5 play? They're all good cards. Here we got another Gifted Urchin, so we could grab a 2-drop if we wanted. We got another Probe Droid, which is good. And we got Fifth Brother, which is one of the best common uncommons in the set. And you see me thinking now, because I know I need 2-drops. However, Fifth Brother is also crazy strong. Coming down on 6, ambushing for 5, like, it clears leaders. It can take big threats out, and your opponent has to deal with it, because otherwise you start boosting your own units. And I decided to go for it. That is definitely a riskier pick, because I do still need 2-drops, but Fifth Brother is just so strong. You see here, Marin is a very good card because it has really high utility. It's pretty uncommon that you'll run out of cards in draft, especially when you're playing with an aggressive leader like I am, so Marin's just going to be positive. Purge Trooper is also one of my favorite cards in the set for draft. Since there's so many force units, a lot of times it kills a unit and it has 4 attack on 3, which is really, really strong. Got another Curious Flock here. Unleashed Rage isn't very good, and Lightsaber's another possibility. Honestly, I think this was kind of a misdraft, if I'm going to be honest. I think I thought Inquisitor's Lightsaber always gave +2 on attack, but it's only +2 in attacking a force unit, so I definitely should have taken that Curious Flock over the Lightsaber there, especially given the fact that I already have a Lightsaber and I'm trying to be aggressive. The Curious Flock is probably just a better card. Especially since I also needed low drops, like, that could functionally be a 2-drop as well. Not a good 2-drop, but it's still something to put on the board. So yeah, if I went back, I think that's like the one draft I made that I think was kind of just a mistake.
Open the magnetic sides.
Ah, okay, there we go.
What am I doing here?
What's in the tray?
Oh yeah,
Haven't added this.
they also gave us a full set of tokens, which was really cool. It was really nice. They gave us that duck box. They gave us the bases, which is really nice. There's no way I ever would have gotten a full set of foil, hyperspace foil bases either. So very cool, the extra stuff they gave us for it. If you notice here, we basically only have 2 things we can play, the Overpower or the 5-drop Gencon Master. And I chose the Overpower. Honestly, either one would have been fine. The extra 3 damage to finish someone off is okay in this kind of deck specifically. Normally, I think the Gencon Faster is better. And if you'll notice, we can definitely see that people have started drafting our colors because a lot of the good cards we want are gone. Take another Overpower, which is definitely suboptimal. If I had known another Overpower was coming, which obviously is impossible, I probably would have taken the Gencon Master. Once again, pretty mid cards. And here I'm thinking about Lightsaber Throw. I don't normally recommend that, but the fact that I have 2 lightsabers makes it possible to play. It isn't very aggressive though, so we end up just going with the generic space unit. Also, just having Restore is strong, and a lot of the space units don't match up well into that. So here's that first pack. If you remember, I remember it's going to come around again, and there's a good chance we get one of our red cards just because of what people were drafting. So here, we got our gunship. If we had taken a red card in the first pack, the first time that pack came around, there's a good chance we wouldn't have gotten anything there. And here I'm like, alright, well this is a 2-drop. I do have technically 1 or 2 droids, so it's doable. I'm just double checking to make sure I'm not missing anything, but Palmata is kind of fine. We can put that in. Once again here, nothing we can play, or is there? So we do have an It's Worse, and playing Perilous Predicament for 4 is kind of fine, especially since it allows us to resource that It's Worse early in the game. So we are going to take that, because, and we'll play it as well, because playing that for 4 is honestly a good play. This is just how, like, if you're playing in a different set and you get, for example, a Fell the Dragon, you should be auto-drafting the Fell the Dragon no matter what, and just paying 6 for it if you need it. So don't be afraid to occasionally take off-color stuff. Alright, so that is my full draft experience there. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the deck build part real quick. Give me 1 sec. Alrighty, so here I am. I'm just going to go over my deck construction real quick. Actually, let me make myself smaller. Zoom down. Okay, I just want to make sure y'all can see everything. Let me do this too. There we go. So if you notice, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to piece everything out according to their costs, and I'm going to separate units from non-units.
So that we have a record for mostly marketing as to what you're playing.
I also don't really separate space and ground, especially in this set,
My whole
because
plan is to do this once in the event.
It's actually pretty cool.
I want to do that combo so bad.
I got
But,
this
so
for
yeah,
Perilous,
you'll take a
but
look,
it
you'll
didn't work
see,
out
I have a
just to bounce
pretty
something
good
that
curve
I
here. Ignore my mumbling. I'm just going to turn myself down a little bit since I'm rambling. There we go.
playing those.
Okay, so
We have 0. We're not playing those.
if you'll look, I don't have much to take out in there. I took out some of the overwhelms, and I have too many 6-drops, so I take that out. A lot of times when you draft, you'll basically just have your deck already made for you, to be honest. So if you look, I think I ended up with 28 here, so I need to add 2. I just add some Overwhelms. And I'm thinking here, do I want to add in the Village Tender? It's not a strong card, but I've only got 5 True Drops, which is less than I like to play.
14. It's technically doable. Oh, no, that wouldn't be enough. I could only hit him for 11. These unique, they're not. So I could go 2-2. That's 6.
So yeah, I'm just kind of calculating up how much damage I can flip. If you notice, I'm definitely doing the math wrong because Inquisitor's Lightsaber only gives a +2 if you attack a unit. I think I'm going to pause this real quick just so I can talk a little bit without talking over myself. So one thing I want to see, you notice I ended up with a really good curve. A lot of times you want to make sure you're big. You have a lot of 3 drops, I've noticed, because 2 drops are solid, but you never want to play them on 4. 3 drops can be paid 3 and 4, which are really good. You also want to make sure, especially an aggressive deck like this, you have a lot of things to play on 1. It's another reason I kept the Village Tenders in, is because I want to absolutely make sure I have a 1 cost. At least Village Tenders can get overwhelmed or something for extra damage if I need them to. Also, they're hidden. And you got to keep in mind, low health doesn't really matter to me as much. So stuff like the Sith Legionnaire and the Purge Trooper don't matter because I'm going to be playing them hidden with the Third Sister. That being said, it's pretty obvious. For the most part, I just played all the cards that I had. I ended up keeping the Pounce out. I believe I actually sided it in one of those games. But for the most part, actually, let me just do this so you can 100% see everything. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with how I drafted this deck. This is actually a decently strong deck, especially for Third Sister, and especially in a draft that has a lot of people who know what they're doing with their drafts. A lot of people think you need some crazy bombs to win a draft, but a draft like this is perfectly capable of winning a tournament. It's just solid. My curve is correct, so I'm going to be playing on curve all the time. I have things with strong attacks. I have ways to go over the top with Overwhelm, and my leader is very solid. So yeah, super decent draft on my part. Like I said, I think I only made that one big mistake. And this is a pretty good guide on like how you want to draft it. Don't think so much about the bombs. Think about your curve and making sure that your deck is like playable and extremely smooth, because that's going to win you more games than, you know, changing your whole draft mid-draft because you got a Yoda in pack 3 or something. Like, sometimes you just have to expect that you can't play that color. Like, for example, I picked one to Vader Blue, and I didn't even end up going that color, even though Vader's a good card. So yeah, I just want to thank the organizers at Gen Con real quick for doing this event. It was super, super fun. And tomorrow I will have the round 1, which is me playing against one of my opponents, up and going. And I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you like this kind of draft style content from events, let me know and I can try and do more recordings in the future. I'm going to try and get more in the swing of posting regular videos again. It's kind of a toss-up though, because I don't want to just post like random videos all the time. I like when there's something special to about it. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for round 1.